So what do you mean by solid funding?
Unstoppable, without any going up or down. At least on the same level, if not higher.
You mean commitment to the long term?
Yes, long-term commitment.
Well, okay. I think it's very clear. I mean, one thing which is very difficult for researchers is really when they think they will have some funding and then it disappears because all of a sudden some project they have in mind and they have already thought quite carefully what would be needed to develop them, and then they have to stop them because both psychologically but also in terms of the teams that you assemble around you, then you have to disassemble them because you cannot support people anymore. So I think in a sense the dynamic of a project is very important. So it's critical for the success that actually when you have managed to get around you the right group of people, that you can really move on and get to where you want. So from that point of view, having a long-term commitment to money, this is one of the reasons for ERC why the Scientific Council from the very beginning insisted that the funding should be for 5 years. Because 5 years means it is time to really develop a strategy. And even if at some point you realize that the strategy you had set up has some difficulties that you were not expecting, then actually you can change it. And then it's important that ERC accepts that you change your strategy, which I think we do, provided you, of course, explain why you propose that. So I think this view that you can count on something for some time is definitely quite important for the success. It depends very much on disciplines. Some disciplines are, because they are relying so much on instruments, that of course they are used to do that all the time, because if you need a telescope to do one observation, if the telescope is not there, you're not going to do your observation. For some other disciplines, I'm a mathematician, this is not the way it goes, because what really is critical for most part of mathematics is of course the people, not the instrument. Is not so. Of course, they are generic instruments, like computers, but they are always available in some way. So of course, as I said, from one discipline to the next, this dependence on tools is not the same, and with the consequence that some disciplines are already extremely well organized in setting up long-term plans, because you cannot build a telescope overnight. So you need a long-term equipment plan. So, but certainly, these fluctuations in funding are always do a lot of damage when they happen.
You mentioned a very renowned geneticist in your lecture, Ms. Jean-Pierre. She's an example of a very successful female scientist.
You mean?
Jean-Pierre.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. Well, I was with Emmanuel Charpentier, who's the other creator, quote-unquote, of CRISPR in Boston last week. And they are really extraordinary women, both of them. Really interesting. Because the way they came to that was, both of them actually, by pure curiosity. It was not, they didn't think of this as gene editing, but all of a sudden they understood that this mechanism was very generic and actually could be used in many different settings, and also extremely efficiently. And of course, something which was some kind of a very peculiar thing became something of a fantastic power. And the speed at which it spreads over many aspects of biology or medicine is absolutely remarkable. Actually, last week in the AAAS meeting, American Association for the Advance of Science meeting, there was a full day which was dedicated to CRISPR, because of course there are all the technical sides, all what you can expect in terms of medical applications, but also there are some ethical things, ethical dimensions. So what kind of in gene editing, which now is becoming cheap and very simple, is acceptable, which is less acceptable, which should be forbidden, and how do you control that? So there are also many dimensions.
Legal things around it.
Not yet legal, but soon legal, but at least at the moment ethical problems.
Yeah, first ethical, then legal. actually?
Yes, because legal means that you have already pursued your reflection far enough that you know what boundaries you want to put. But before to identify the boundary, you need really a quite thorough analysis of consequences and how you can control the consequences and so on.
There are still not enoug female scientists, unfortunately. It's only a maximum 1/3 of the whole amount of scientists. Why is it so? If most of students are women.
Well, it's a complicated story because I think, of course, if you look at the people who are doing science at the moment, let's take Europe as a playground. Of course, it depends very much on the countries, depends very much on disciplines, and it depends very much on the history. So, of course, women came to science later than men. In France, for example, the first women to get thèse d'état happened quite late in the 19th century. So I think this is this historical handicap. But I think the situation is changing, but not. It depends very much on discipline. For example, if you look in social science, humanities, I think basically we're in a situation where it's more or less 50-50 with fluctuations from one country to the next, but not much. In the case of biology, percentage of women is more like 40% or 60% men. But in the case of mathematics, it's much lower, and it's more like 12 or 13%. So, and of course now what is changing is that, as you said, among the students, the percentage of women is increasing, but still with lower percentages in some disciplines. So engineering is one of them, mathematics another one, computer science another one. So we need to find the right role models. Because if you look at the case of mathematics, which I know a bit better because I'm a mathematician, actually it's not a question of the capacities, of course, it's not a question even of the success. It has to do in the case of France very much with the fact that women tends to be much more responsible, much more aware of their limitation than men, who tend to overestimate their capacities. And the French system with what we call the grandes écoles and so on tend to actually favor men because it's a moment where claiming that you are very good plays a role, and so which is not so good. So we have to consider that. I think the tendency is definitely in the right direction, certainly not at the right pace. So I think as funding agencies we have to be very cautious with this and make sure that we don't introduce further handicaps. I mean that really were fair to women candidates, and also that even our application process is not formulated in a way that women feel uncomfortable. Because if you ask people to, in a sense, oversell themselves, women will oversell themselves less than men. So we have to be careful that we don't create conditions which actually, with no intention of being unfair, but actually turn out to be unfair. So I think this is something one has to be always extremely careful about and remind evaluators all the time and think about it. So that's why we are totally at ERC, totally transparent on these statistics. We just publish them all the time, we just monitor them all the time, because for us they are very important things to look at.
And in the end, very shortly, as you are president of the ERC and a very low amount of Polish scientists acquire these important, very prestigious grants, why do you think it's the reason for that?
It's difficult to tell, because definitely for me the situation of Poland at the moment at the ERC is an anomaly. I mean, because of the quality of Polish science altogether. Of course, extrapolating from my own field, where definitely Poland is a great country in terms of mathematics. That's just obvious to everyone. But I think maybe, there is a cultural transition. I think people were not used to submit proposals, so you have to learn how you do that, and in particular to come up with a 5-year plan, which is typically what we request from our applicants. And so this takes some time. Of course, the setting up of the NCN has been, I think, a very important step, and as you know, NCN was built using ERC as a model. But the first effect of that, and partly because NCN is working well, is that people feel that if they get an NCN contract, it's enough. So actually the introduction of NCN, which is certainly a part of the learning process and in a good direction for ERC, the first step is that people are happy having an NCN contract and we won't go further. But I think we should not look at this too negatively, because I think, as I said, there is some kind of a cultural transition, and I think going through NCN is the first stage, and I'm pretty sure the next stage will come where people have been supported quite properly by NCN, also have learned how to submit a proposal. I think it will help them to get to ERC at the next stage. So I think in my speech I tried to explain that one has to be patient, because I think it's just the way it is. I mean, the success has to be built for the long term, and therefore, of course, for this you need a long-term commitment, long-term support, but I think also you have to, I mean, we are talking about communities, so communities take time to move. They're a bit like elephants, so they cannot just all of a sudden jump. And so from that point of view, I wouldn't be pessimistic if really there was a massive movement by young Polish people to leave the country and so on, which is not happening at all. So I think I'm quite hopeful for Poland in the future, for all the reasons that all the basic elements are there, and if they are properly cultivated, and particularly if researchers, the initiative researchers is cultivated in the right way, which is part of the arguments I proposed in my speech, I'm not worried actually.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank
you
you
very much.
Nice to meet you.